can see.
Does it work?
Yeah.
Yep.
Amazing. Cool. I will just remove all the drawings. Super cool. Welcome to another episode of our AlphaBlock X Infinite stream. This time is the first time where it will be an AlphaBlock X Infinite X HMWF with Matty as a co-host, co-speaker, additionally to our nice group that we have of analysts, of community. Obviously, everyone is always invited to be a guest speaker. And I thought that I would just kick it off with a little bit of a Bitcoin and gold analysis, and then I would just pass the screen sharing even over to Matty. So we just get a bit of an insight into slightly different trading styles. I think like what I just noticed is that if you spend so much time together as we all do, that what happens over time due to us sharing our insights in alpha, that we definitely have different views on certain topics, different sides of the trades at all times. Like some of us are shorting while the others are long only. Like I short, as an example, I shorted a little bit more like in the past week, but since yesterday I just started like trying to long and relong. So right now, earlier where I said like I just closed a few of those longs. I did not short. I'm not in a short right now, but like when I see this um, little sell off right now, like into the US session that we have currently, if this would respect the levels with a higher low, I feel like this is right now a little bit in the golden pocket already. Then I'm looking to relong, just for your info, but I'm not extremely interested right now into shorting. I would like to see price getting rejected one more time before reshorting, and until then, I would continue trying to let Bitcoin find the bottom somewhere between 70K and 68K. Just FYI. And let me just draw the fibs. Yeah, as we thought, like this is, if we can find the base right here, I will definitely add a little bit to my longs again, like as long as we do not break this box, as this box leads to a nice absorption, I will be happy trying to find additions to my positions from anywhere here until to these levels here as a target, because we can definitely see, obviously, from the range that we are day trading, this is the point of control where we also had a beautiful rejection, which was in the initial sell-off, a zone where we absorbed the selling, tried to find a bottom, tried to build a real support, which then got simply rejected. And now if we can hold this level, then I'm interested in relonging. Should that level break here, I would probably flip short like closer towards 65K, because as we can see here, there's also the Coco confluence nicely figured out. This was an overbought territory here, which then also aligned with our horizontal levels. So this is an absolutely crucial level, which would mean for me, let's say we long from here with a stop loss here. Then this front running this, because here's also our EMA 100 on the short time frame. This is like somewhat of a 2-to-1 risk reward ratio, but I definitely need to see a flip of this area here in order to really trust this move, and then the stop loss would be below that rejection level here, with a further target up here, because otherwise losing that area here would lead to the conclusion for me that we can probably take a step into shorting into a breakdown. Yeah. So let me just post it into the aggregator. This is my day trading plan heading into the weekend. We must see a bullish follow up and respecting the higher lows for further leverage longs. Otherwise, I'd wait it out a little and even try hedge shorting into bids closer to mid 60Ks. Okay, like this is my base thought, and I have one more thing that I would like to directly share from the very beginning. And this is the fact that gold is getting destroyed at the moment. This is an absolute destruction of. Let me remove actually all indicators. First buying signal with Coco Confluence, by the way, but it doesn't matter to me, at least right now. I think the point of control, so if you want to copy it, the VRVP, number of rows, I think it displays beautifully where we could end up if price, like this level is slightly included to me. Okay, like I really see gold more as swing trades, which is why it's completely fine for me to rather think in bigger boxes / areas of price rather than just lines. And what we're seeing right now, yeah, is historic in a negative manner. And that is where we topped gold nuke 21%. We all remember from a few months ago. In such a short amount of time, this almost never happened in history of financial markets. And it seems like we are gearing up for something similar. And I just want to highlight like the insane aggression. And this here could, in the worst case, this is really horrible on such a multi-month time frame. This is the first lower high on gold in an incredible long amount of time, because what we had here is the only thing, because this is not a fractal, yeah, but the only way how gold can get out of this is to immediately print a higher low and therefore also respecting a previous breakout. Yeah, so the problem is if we measure real candle closures that would have been here, we are already lower. Only if we count wicks, then price still is at a slightly higher low. The issue is just that now the next candle that started, and now it's a Friday prior to the weekend, already looks like it's not going to respect that higher low, that multi-month, multi-year, multi-decade bullish market structure of gold. So that leads me to the conclusion that if we do not respect this level, and now we also take into account where it already happened, yeah? If we include this high, yeah, as well as the previous higher low from a market structure point of view, as well as the level of the recent breakout, the maximum or the lowest, the minimum price that we can allow gold to trade at, in my opinion, is exactly this box where price must revert. Otherwise, I definitely see this as the only and next true level of support. And this is something that's extremely concerning because we are already down really from the high. Look, yeah, again, like 20%. So if this thesis would hold true, that would mean a capital destruction of minus 40% on an asset like gold. I think that's just extremely important to understand what that could mean. Because if we just look at the recent Bitcoin cycle high to now, we all knew it was somewhere around 120K, 125K. The crazy thing about this is Bitcoin, this is cryptocurrency, yeah? And we're right now trading like somewhat like 43% lower than cycle top. But if this holds true, then it would mean that the gold volatility, especially the gold drawdown, could be comparable to a drawdown of Bitcoin, which I think is absolutely unseen and would mark potentially a permanent shift in the mechanics of financial markets. Because if we are in a world where gold's volatility matches the volatility of Bitcoin, how much of a safe haven and trusted asset will gold stay permanently in the long term? Because what we must understand, of course, we know so many people that made it because of crypto, because of stocks, because of like the speculation on crypto and stocks, yeah? But I think some people underestimate how much real money from wealthy and influential people actually sits in assets like gold or also oil. But the thing is that oil always used to be extremely volatile, like just a little throwback to COVID, how much we literally went to negative prices or to zero on gold as an example, on oil as an example. But it could change a lot forever. Having gold also in that kind of team of extreme volatile assets, because if gold goes down 40%, we also need to understand usually, obviously, TradFi like Forex, currency trading, gold, there's also much more leverage and like just borrowed money in those markets because they are marked as safe. Yeah. And so many assets, so many ETFs have like, yes, a stock mix and also like, okay, here, 10% allocation in gold, 3% allocation in silver. And those, especially those institutional players or fund managers, will be forced to take the losses and sell their gold positions if the drawdown of gold exceeds a certain threshold. And so I think this is an extremely interesting dynamic that we are in right now. Also GM Tomila Gisela, Nick. So yeah, I would like to pass it along to you, Matty, and like hear your thoughts on Bitcoin, gold, or also a third other asset that you might think that is outstanding or that's really worth taking a trade, because I think this is absolutely crazy what gold is about to do and did.
Yeah. Just testing. Can you hear me, everyone? Yeah.
Perfectly.
Yeah, nice one. So just having some issues with mic today. It's sort of like Discord and PC not talking to each other. So we're a bit of sharing his screens today. But I can definitely talk. So yeah, it's really interesting what we're seeing between sort of like risk assets and non-risk assets, or as institutions like to call them. Well, like you mentioned there, people, funneling them so much money into gold, and then they've seen such a sell-off with obviously everything that's been going on in the world at the minute. And then people seem to be putting more trust into Bitcoin, which is obviously great for us. At the minute, I'm seeing sort of like 70k as a nice sort of support because we've moved up twice now, way above 70k. I mean, what did we do? We did 73.9 and then we went up to 75.9 and we've come back down now to 69.6. I mean, I'm thinking, looking at the sort of like 4-hour time frame, I'm thinking we're going to move slightly lower. Hopefully we can bounce sort of like between the 68.5 area, and then that'll move into more like what you said, with starting to build into longs then, because we are printing higher lows ever since we hit the low of 59.8, and then we've had 62.5, 63.1, 65.6, and we're at a current higher low of a 68.7. So, I mean, it depends if we're including wicks or full body candles, because I know each trader likes to trade different, but I do believe that wicks should be taken into more of consideration, because ultimately that's where the price headed. So yeah, for now, I mean, I've got a short on today. I think we're about 20% profit, sort of like 70 entry, and then I'd look to sort of like take profits down to about 68, maybe 68.5, and then, like you said, scale into longs, but slowly, because with the way that the news is going at the minute, we can have some nasty wicks. But apart from that, I mean, I'm not too into charting gold. Its mainly focus is crypto, but that's how I see Bitcoin going over the next week or so. Does that line with what you think, Umbus? Or?
Yeah, definitely. Like, interestingly, I mean, there's no, like, it's cool if we have a confluence. Wait,
Yeah.
for Matthew from stream. So I think it aligns really nicely with the thought of like, hey, if we currently break down, then as I said, I would also join in the short, whereas we have quite the value, especially on a monthly chart.
Yeah.
Where you truly have a make or break level, because like what I did, maybe you saw, like while you were speaking, I was following your, like I was drawing for you, and it aligns beautifully, because the thing is also is we've all seen the structure of those higher lows. Like, yes, it has been crazily painful for some, or from a certain point of view, whereas you can also say, I believe that the volatility that we started to see again in the last year is and currently is one of the best teachers, because often in the markets, often you need to wait 5 days, 10 days for another setup, where right now we really have the luxury, if you have, let's say, 2-3 hours in a day that you can truly allocate with a focus, and another day you have 1 hour that you can truly with a focus allocate. And we always know like our medium and swing targets, so okay, this is a certain zone, this is a certain box, this is a certain TP area. And funnily, you can basically jump on the computer every second that you have time, and you can literally start trading. And this is something that is quite unique cycle-wise, because often in a bull market, like if it's just confirmed an uptrend, then you're not doing too well if you let's say at some point really the macro bottom is somewhere between 65k and 50k, and then we go towards whatever 130, 150k. So if you figured that we are already like up like 5 or 6k, like off of one of your bottom buys or a leverage long, you probably shouldn't close that long. The only thing that you can do is like relonging in between, but in a bull market, it's often the case, besides momentum trading to the upside, you should literally just ban the red button, and you only relong on a dip, close re-long.
Yeah.
But right now, as we can see, the whole time from the charts, every week we change from, oh, the most horrible part of the bear market is over. This is a macro bottom formation. And then 3 days later, nah, I'm short again. It's crazy that we are allowed to say it in a sense, as we said, like just the levels that you said, where we had a bottom 62.4.
Yeah.
3 days later, market was already at 70K. That's a 10% move. Again, 3 days later, 8% down move. Then 5% up, 3% down, 5% up, 5% down, 12% up, 13% down. Every time in a manner of like 2-3 days. So every 2-3 days. For a lot of people, which is really not recommended, because obviously we want to trade size. Since I closed like a few hours ago, luckily, what means luckily, whatever, we were at the EMA 100. There's not so much luck. It was very mechanical that I just closed 90% of my long. I really only have a few grand left. Like, just sometimes I just do the thing where I leave like really tiny positions open from the ones where the trades that I closed, just to have a feeling of the momentum. This is not about like, I'm not sharing that P&L flex. Look, I'm up 4,000%. If I don't have size in it, there will not be a P&L card. But you know what I mean? That if you had two longs, a Bitcoin long and an ETH long, and then you leave from both a tiny bit open, because then when I short on the other account or on the same account, and I'm taking a short, and then there comes the decision, which long do I re-long now? Then it's very smart if you still have your old entries where you know, oh, I opened both longs 3 days ago at 5 p.m. So it's literally the same time span. And then I see, what the fuck? My old Bitcoin long is in a loss now, but Ethereum is still green. And then the beauty of this is that now you have an easy choice that you know, oh, Ethereum is the right. It more often than not, it's the wrong asset. But in this case, then you would just have it visualized. Oh, nice. Ethereum, if I now suppose that the market is strong, probably I should long Ethereum, because it was eating the downside way better than the upside, than Bitcoin. So I think this is a really nice way of visualizing that, and I share your thought that there is a big chance that we can find prices here. For me, I think the rule of thumb just often worked out that you can, like, if we want to really oversimplify it, I mean, our bars here are showing that, like, that you can TP shorts and buy in the red zone. Once you jump into like the upper 2-3 layers of the green zone, you sell. Same as like you can just treat it as, yeah, a complete simplification, right? Like if you are below this point of control, below 70K and point of control in this zone, from now you can just buy, and then above the EMA 100 you want to scale out. And this is
That's a super simple way of, but it's such a good way to earn a lot of money using low leverage longs and shorts, you know. Because no matter where you don't even have to be accurate when you're doing stuff like that. I'm sort of glad you said what you said before, because ever since we had that really low of sort of like 59.7, I did find myself waiting days on day upon days for waiting to find an entry in the market. But ever since then, we're having really, really nice swings, and I'm finding myself being able to trade 2 or 3 times a day, which, on the flip side of it, even though I was waiting for so long last time to find an entry, you tend to second guess yourself so many times because you don't know what's... I mean, obviously nobody knows what's going to happen next, but even though I'm trading more, I feel like I've got more time because of the volatility spikes. You can just jump to a chart and then take a trade because you know it's going to swing back. And I think we're in a... Everybody says, you know, it's down, it's bear market, but this is where the money's made. There's so many swings to each higher low, and you know, a lower high. It's I think the opportunity is there. You just got to be careful with volatility.
Yeah, definitely. That's probably the number one core right now, to just avoid. And it sounds so like that's the thing. Like, now that we are doing this for quite some time, and we had more voice chats and text chats in general, and like a few cycles in the back, that it's so funny how like the wording could sound, and that's just why I'm saying this disclaimer right now. The wording when we speak like that can sound for someone that it's like, are you trying to sell me some course, or like, why are you constantly saying the trading is so easy? Trading is not easy. The only thing that can make it easy is if you could visualize for yourself right now, like, ego as a human trait, as your
Mm.
as your cap. And whenever you
Yeah,
enter your trading room, you take that cap in your hand and hang it somewhere. There can
yeah,
just be no ego in trading, and then it becomes quite, exclamation marks, easy. Because the craziest thing, like, we just mapped out this range. Then you take into account, okay, so on the days where price nuked and RSI is extremely oversold at the level of 10 out of 100, and I see Bitcoin is already under 70K, would you, like, just in the last month, you would have never been stopped out, or like, let's say your liquidation is your stop loss. That can also be a very viable tactic. Why? Because if the exchange engine fails and your
yeah,
stop loss doesn't trigger, then you can lose your whole account in that sense. But if you just have on one single position isolated leverage, and then you just say, okay, I allocate $250 capital with a 40x leverage on isolated margin, then you have a 10K position, and you would get wiped out for, let's say, something like a 2% move. And now you spin it just on like that we saw in the range, what I visualize, or what I will visualize right now one more time, is the amount that the price moved on Bitcoin, and you can translate it into every single asset that you like trading. So you had that extreme sell-off, and price moved frequently, 10 to 20%, just frequently, extremely frequently. So once you figured that, like after a few days or a few weeks, that you can just determine, and that's also where our suit actually can help you with also the volatility regime, that you can just see, is it extreme or not, or whatever. But you can also do that manually, that you just see usually price moves 10 to 20%. So if you would use that as your stop loss, and you just say, hey, the risk to reward isn't as real as a concept to me as the probability of winning the trade, you can also just do it like that, as you perfectly said. So if the prolonged volatility is something like 15%, you could always just have a swing trade and be a 3x isolated long or short. Then you know you don't have to sweat, and basically you just have to log in again to collect money in the future. It sounds so stupid, as if we're oversimplifying it, but this is how it is. This is a macro downtrend. This is proven every time the RSI is a bit toppy, and you are close to the EMA, you have a free short. And every time we had an insane sell-off, you can start buying, and the same is then again here and here and here and here. Then we had the bounce.
yeah,
Here we had a little SFP. You start building higher lows. Like, it's really, from a mechanical standpoint, weirdly one of the cleanest markets to trade, even though gold and oil do not behave like this. This is what I find so interesting, that crypto is trading 100 times cleaner than
yeah,
gold and silver. And this is fascinating right now. And I think this is truly worth monitoring the situation, as we say now. This is really interesting, because this could start becoming a tendency that whenever gold goes on a run, whenever oil goes on a run, gold starts puking. Bitcoin is trading clean on a mechanical level. This is interesting, and this can make it very easy because also on the exchanges like Bluefin, you can now literally just trade gold, oil, silver, besides Bitcoin.
Yeah. Yeah, we're just looking here. I mean, like you were saying, the volatility. I mean, it's literally every two, all the way up, apart from maybe mid-February. It's like every 2 days. So, say here, 6th of February to the 8th of February, we have moved. Oh, I mean, that's a crazy. Yeah, we moved 19%. 19% on Bitcoin. It's crazy. And then from then to 4 days later, moved 8%. So there's just so much. There's so much opportunity with this market. I mean, like you've just said with the oil and the gold chart there, I wouldn't even bother touching that because it's just. Well, what do you do? Just buy and hope it keeps going, and then every time you do buy, you think, "Oh my god, am I top blasting here?" I mean, I know that's what we all thought when Bitcoin were flying at 120, 126 last year.
So crazy to say that Bitcoin was trading at $126,000 at one point.
So crazy, yeah. I was actually screaming in HWMF for every ETH holder to sell their shitcoins, meaning actual ETH. I think I said it. Yes, what was it? About 4,100. I said it. So I wasn't far away from the top, to be fair.
It's a beautiful thing. It's beautiful.
We got the highest high was 4,950. So yeah, but that were a violent 1 hour wicks. But yeah.
Let's check how the coins are doing against each other. It's so funny how crazily well hype is moving to the upside usually, and whenever you have an actual green day on the
That's a
major
beautiful high. Is that?
Yeah. And then hype is going down. It's just funny. It's outperforming the whole time, and whenever the market starts breathing, hype starts crawling down. Lots of
A lot of people are starting to notice that too. So I wonder if we start seeing some people kind of, positioning for that. And then we slowly start seeing that not happening because now everyone's trying to line up into it, which would be nice. Because I do see a lot of people like doing their write-ups or whatever, trying to make note of that. And I'm just wondering if now, like, we'll just start to see some sort of continuous float. But I don't know. As you know, I'm super big on Hyperliquid, and I just continue to diligently accumulate spot. But its price movement is a little wonky, so I don't I don't know what to think about it sometimes. I'm not against it. I'm totally happy about it, but
So Brantley, if you, in your opinion, where would it be a good level to deploy quite a lot of capital on hype? What prices are you looking at?
I think 33 is as good as ever right now, anywhere from the 33 to $29 range. I think it's and that's not even looking at charts, that's just based on overall, like, good prices to buy. And everyone will sit there and say on our next downtrend of Hyperliquid, oh, I'll see you at 20, I'll see you at 15, but I'll never understand. Me, I'm a big spot trader. I don't even do too much leverage. I'm going to start using leverage just to learn more and get more cash flow going. But I don't understand, directionally trading spot bags of hypes that some people do, right? Because at the end of the day, whether your entry is 33, 22, 15, the ultimate end goal or end game is just 2 to 3x higher, and it's a very, very easy thing to kind of put money into right now. It's the strongest performer in the bear market. And my main thing with hype right now is like, we see Hyperliquid and how it moves with Bitcoin kind of stabilized, and then Bitcoin having slow movements up. So what happens when Bitcoin makes a real move, or Bitcoin makes a real move and then stabilizes at a higher price? I just think that there's so much room for exponential return with hype in a reasonable sense, right? Like, no, you won't
Yeah.
put $100 into hype and make,
Yeah.
$6,000 in a trade, but you can, put 4 or 5 grand into hype and potentially see. I don't want to give USD or dollar
No.
based returns on it, but you could see such strong percentage returns on it just because of how it's moving with the rest of the market. And if Bitcoin's going to be gravity, and we see hype kind of acting as a moon to Bitcoin, um, in orbit with Bitcoin and what Bitcoin does, I think that it's one of the last real things that I would feel super comfortable putting. You know, putting real capital into in such a wonky market. But like you guys said earlier, right? Buying when things feel wonky and scary is generally when you want to. Um, and even like I've been accumulating Solana, but lately I find myself just wondering like, yeah, Solana is where I started, so it makes sense to me to accumulate Solana, but just based off what I see now in the way the market's moving, like I don't know, do I want to buy something because I want to buy it and say that I have it, or do I want to be in the market purely for returns, right? And the answer is returns. It's not
Yeah.
buying something to say that I have it. And I do just think where we are, where the future is going, where the future of crypto is going, is that that's where the money is. Because we think about the YouTube videos that we used to watch when we were all growing up and just got introduced to this market. Hyperliquid is essentially the final evolution of crypto, and from what I see in terms of bringing all markets on chain, whether it's equity perps, commodities, oil, the fact that it's a deep liquid trading venue that also doesn't have predatory liquidations and is relatively all open source, it's huge, and they're supporting builders. There's a lot of development. People are building on Hyperliquid, just like the same way people were building and developers were choosing to build on Solana in early Solana days. I do think Solana has been relatively consolidating this month at around $80 at a flat bottom, with the low as 75, I think. And it is easy to see Solana hit 110, 140 again. But my main plan with that trade is, any profits taken on Solana will just go back into hype and Bitcoin, and probably majority hype right now, just because again, like it's real authentic bullishness and excitement on hype for me, and that's just another reason why I'm like, so I see it as the Robin Hood of crypto, and not in a facetious way, like not in a, oh, this could be one day, like, no, bro, like this is the most advanced trading venue that anyone could access. And
on
like
a
the fact
on
that
on an on-chain level, because where we also need to be real, like, yes, it is probably one of the most pristine assets, as you say, besides Bitcoin. And I think a lot of us had the tendency to be loyal to Sol because some people feel like, yeah, I own some of my friends that I made along the line and some of the gains. I kind of owe Solana a little bit. The thing is just there was so much drama that we understand, yeah, or other people should understand where we come from when we say, hey, hype is a great asset. The thing is just it was exactly the same for Binance, for BNB, because back then it was not so predatory seen. Also for the reason when in the first year when I started in crypto, like you were able to buy Binance coin for $3 to $4, right? And if you had this run up where you had a spot 200x or something or 100x, people were like, "Oh, Binance is like so good," and then they saw like CZ really like hunting people, and people were like, "Nah, FTX is the nice next bright star." Then FTX imploded. People were longing for something. Still to date, my avenue for trading is solely Blowfin and Hyperliquid because both are non KYC. Especially, you can swap between both. And thanks to Hyperliquid, also they had the partnership with that they have now, the SP500 SPX completely synchronized with TradFi price oracles and everything. But I think the next step is that kind of every exchange will have to do that. It will be the future is, and I'm really betting my ass on this. Every halfway decent exchange in crypto will allow you to trade all the assets. And now we have to think that Hype has the first mover advantage. And yes, Hype will, in my opinion, there is no other way than it becoming 3 digits. And as you said, like probably a barbell is 2 assets, I know, but probably the best barbell or like trinity of assets is just Bitcoin, Hype, and Solana. But as you hear people talk about it, no one is even thinking about Ethereum or Binance Coin or so anymore because they just didn't do anything for people lately. That's super interesting, as you just said, because Hype never had a drama yet. Yeah, but it's also very young. So it will be extremely interesting how that is in 2, 3 years. How will we speak about Hype when it is already at a few $100s? We made our money with Hype. Will there be another asset? Will Hype always stay up in the sky like something like BNB? This will be very interesting. But for now, I completely agree. And I think that Hype is one of the best assets to just spot accumulate. You got an airdrop, you have trading fee kickbacks, you have like some positive USD cash flow. I'm just buying Hype spot like almost every day with some of the money that I'm making.
Yeah, a hype a day keeps the liquidations away. One thing I want to add on that too, as a,
Sorry to cut you off. I'm sure that used to be a Solana saying. A solid
yeah,
day keeps the pain away.
Yeah, definitely.
there's 2 things that, and I've mentioned this before in the chat, right? As a more kind of like, risk on play with maybe less expectation for return, it would be, I feel like obviously it's there was a lot of drama with Aster, right? And you could say a million reasons on why Aster would not, work out or be supported long term or whatever, but I do just, tend to see Aster, right, spending the whole month now ranging between 67 cents, 77 cents, right? With all the developments that they have going on and their L1 going live, and it would just seem kind of asinine to completely count Aster out regardless of personal bias, because personal bias doesn't matter in terms of numbers. And um, I just think, like, generally that with less expectations and maybe less faith, right, in terms of confidence level on that, I do think that generally Aster will eventually gravitate towards $2, $3 again, perhaps even higher. And it sits there now at 67 cents, 68 cents. Now, the only thing is that I would never advocate for someone to buy Aster as aggressively as Hype. But the cool thing about Aster right now in terms of a value trade and R&R is that it seems like the negative and lows for Aster have already been in and it has found its bottom. So it is an easy asset to buy, and I do think that, again, like, we can't look at Aster like Hyperliquid, but in terms of returns, there is returns to be made on Aster. And then one thing about Hyperliquid too is, like, bro, they wouldn't try and they only try and take something out when it is exceptionally amazing. And when Hyperliquid had that whole jelly drama and all of like the predatory stuff happening to it, that to me was like one of the biggest bull flags for what Hyperliquid could turn into. And that's when I realized like I need to I need to open my mind, because as you guys know, I was exclusively accumulating Bitcoin for a bit. But I was like, I need to open my mind and, acknowledge that there's something special happening here. But anyway, thank you.
Thanks, Chad.
So are we in the, my bad for coming in a little late. Are we in the 80K waiting room right now, or are we waiting for more fuckery?
I think we need to see a little bit lower before we see 80K, if I'm honest.
All that would do is give me a good place to ride a nice long, so I wouldn't even be against.
I mean, I'm not talking, not talking much lower. I mean, obviously, I'm not. No one's a market oracle, but I just something, something saying 68 before 80, but could be wrong. It is what it is. One of them. I also wanted to touch on something that you said a little bit earlier. I think when you said sort of like when you, I don't know, I can't remember exactly what you said, but when you said sort of talking about you talking to people, talking in communities or something, that's got some value. Sometimes more than chatting and gluing your faces to screens all the time. That's probably how I made quite a bit of decent money. Not last year, but year before we started really trading the charts and looking at the technical side of things. Because at the end of the day, crypto is run by people's money, and people's money is 99% of the time run by people's emotions. So if you can get in them communities, get in them, like X and Discord and stuff, and really feel out the communities and how they're talking about, it's like you were just going on about hype, then you could really see how a certain someone believes in hype. That's essentially why I asked you what a good level we're buying for, because sometimes you can stare at a chart it's like I can look at hype chart all day long, but getting your opinion on hype and where a good level is sometimes just as important.
Yeah, 100%, bro. And like one thing that was told to me recently, like I say about last year, a year and a half ago, it was like, you can't really, you could get all of the information you want from someone and like speak about something, but at the end of the day, like the way you trade leverage, right? Like, and I see what you do, and it's fucking sick, bro. Like, it really is. Like, but I can't borrow your conviction to place those trades at the end of the day. You could sit there on the phone with me and be like, man, trade, like place this trade right now and do that, right? But I can't borrow your conviction. And then that's like the same thing for, heavy accumulating spot. The reason why we're able to do it so comfortably is because it's a visionary thing with Hyperliquid. And once you can kind of like once you see it, it's very hard to unsee, especially when you've seen maybe like for me, right? I saw early inception of what Solana's ecosystem grew into, but I was a little younger, a little more naive, and just maybe more focused on hitting a big strike on like a gamble rather than putting in those extra hours working in real life to accumulate. So it's a whole different approach to it from a disciplinary standpoint. And like I will say that when I got very educated about Hyperliquid and everything that was going on with Hyperliquid, I did learn some maybe things that a lot of people don't know too. Like for me, who I stand here completely still convicted on hype, a lot of people say that there are no VCs in Hyperliquid. This is not true. Paradigm is the largest holder of Hyperliquid. And then on top of that, Paradigm is a VC who actually contributes very heavily to Hyperliquid's main spot exchange, Hyperunit. Um, and being able to acknowledge that there are pros and there are cons, and it's not like just straight, right? If everything is perfect in crypto, then that just means that you're not looking at the full picture. So it's definitely not like, 100% perfect yet, or maybe like Umba said, in the future, maybe there's no drama yet, but right now it is really just capturing such an amazing evolution of the market that it's exciting. And that's where, like, again, I say directionally trading an asset like Hyperliquid is not something that you really should be doing with spot bags, because whether it's 42, 38, or 33, you will not care in 2 to 3 years when this thing has 3 or 4x based off of the economics behind it. I truly think it's one of the first assets in crypto that act as some form of an equity because of how the mechanics of it work. And then the exclusive license from the S&P 500 on Trad XYZ is even crazier, because that shows that the development and products that are being built on Hyperliquid's EVM now are going to start gaining a lot of traction and support. And that was the missing piece to the pie. We knew they had a perp dex, we knew they had a product that worked, but what was going on outside of that? And now there's a really rich ecosystem bustling on Hyperliquid's EVM, Hyper EVM, because Hypercore and Hyper EVM are two different things. And then when you realize that Hyperliquid is a token, yet it's also a gas coin, not a lot of people know that Hyperliquid takes a kind of dual, ambiguous approach with that, where most of the times I always find myself telling people, like, hey, there is a difference between coins and tokens. But it really is. I mean, between us and a technical standpoint, Hyperliquid is a token. The hype token is a token, but it is very ambiguous, and it blurs the lines because of the compatibility between Hypercore and Hyper EVM. That again, it just makes it an exciting, truly innovative product on the market. And keep in mind, I'm not paid, but like I know you guys know, I'm not paid by Hyperliquid or anything. But this is just pure organic thought. It's not like anyone's paying me or anything to speak so strongly and highly of something. This is just truly from my own view of things, and it's an exciting product.
Hey, good morning, everybody. I just wanted to chime in real quick, give you a little analysis of how I'm playing it with Bitcoin specifically. And I have my son with me. He's a little sick. So, let's see. So I've been working on a lot of range trading. And we've been trading within this range from 60 all the way up to now to 75. And it ran up most recently. And we have these higher lows like you guys were discussing, from here to the bottom of 62 all the way running up here. And if we do hold this level, we could definitely have another run up. And on a macro level, this is this descending channel that we've been running down since the top. Been looking at a little bit of harmonics too, but when it comes to the Elliott wave, trying to see if this is impulse 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's 5, or it could be more of this could be the start of it, 1, 2, and then there's a big impulse, and then maybe we have one more impulse towards here, which is possible. We're just looking at the volume. We need the bears to the bulls to kind of pick up with pushing up some buying volume. Pretty much within the next few days. Otherwise, I'll probably get a lower low on a breakdown here, and the higher probability that we're going to go towards this lower the value area low of this range, which is 60. You could even argue bottom of this descending channel, which if you go to previous range that we were at back in July, August, actually going more towards April all the way to August and September, the bottom of this range is closer towards the 56, 58 area a few times last year. So I'm just staying level by level, play by play. If this is a breakdown, I think more likely than not with this crappy low volume that are going to end up going down somewhere down here towards that level like we were discussing that I posted on the aggregator on starting on March 7th. So let's see if this higher low can hold here where we're at. Make maybe one more push towards the top of the descent channel, which is also the 200 EMA. But yeah, that was just kind of like wanted to add on it. But like I said, playing it level by level to see the reaction. But Umba's little session heat map is not showing anything as of yet, and the volume is kind of garbage at the moment. Very low, no real buyers come into play, so we could very well head a little bit lower and get those lower price Bitcoin that we're potentially looking for a better long. Yeah,
And is that is that on like a time frame for the weekend, or is that on like a time frame going into April?
So I'm on the 12-hour right now. Like I said, if Umba's momentum shift and liquidity trap detector, you can see that right here, the little yellow diamonds, potential reversal, right? They've been pretty good. And then the triangles and the diamonds are for short, meaning the high probability of a top. So we're seeing those kind of play out, but I'm not seeing anything as of right now. Also, the volume is not that great.
Yeah,
So
I definitely can. I can attest to dry volume as we go into the weekend.
yeah,
But
and
I
exactly
agree with you. I agree with you on the directional move. Now I'm wondering if they want to take us to a low going into Saturday, and then when the futures markets open, if we see like more of stability with Iran, right? Because a lot of it's just flip flopping on one day Iran situation's cooling down, the next moment they strike an F-35, the next they want to make a deal, and the market's been hypersensitive to that. So I'm wondering if that that external variable will play a role into what happens from like Sunday night going into Monday morning. I agree with I definitely agree with what you're saying. I'm just it's crazy how that's how we're seeing the market move right now. But fundamentally, I do agree with you. I think you're 100% right. It's fucking sorry for my language, but it's crazy how we can't even rely on fundamentals right now because of the hypersensitivity to like what's going on with Iran.
yeah. Then the geopolitical issues with Taiwan and China, where China's kind of surrounded Taiwan right now, so there's a potential possibility that they might try to take Taiwan like they've always been talking about it.
Can I ask a rather ignorant question? But I'm sure we've all thought it before. What the fuck happens, right? Like, all right, news of something happens, and then just a bunch of people immediately log online and start selling their spot bags. Like, we all know that's not what happens in the market, and this is all automated and automated bots that we're essentially trading against. So, to me, this whole hypersensitivity to everything is very asinine because it's stupid, dude. But I have such trouble wrapping my head around that.
Yeah, it's hard to anticipate geopolitical issues that's going on in the world with the financial markets. I just know that the financial markets don't like uncertainty. So once they see a lot of uncertainty and things happening, people just start selling off to take whatever they have before it diminishes into less.
And that goes back to the hypersensitivity of their emotions, I guess.
Yeah, also a big part of it. Yes. So yeah, over the weekend, I just want to see this level hold right here, kind of where we're at. As you can see, that trend line, a breakdown on there. We could have like a little fake out, where we fake out down, hit this golden pocket, and then climb back up, which is definitely possible as well. It's just it would have to see some volume pushing through to get some buying volume to come back up to really show me that it might be a fake out. But from the range trading, I've been doing research and educating myself on. Once we go to the value area high, and then we deviate back down into this value range that we're back in, there's the highest probability that we're gonna come down to the value area low.
And then work towards like a macro bottom in October, right? Just keep ranging slightly lower, ranging slightly lower.
If we break down right here, we break down right here, we don't get the back end, we kind of get maybe another retest up to this trend line, and then it's uh, a failed try to kind of regain back to that trend line. And we could be seeing something like this into April to mid-April.
Yo, hear me out. I agree. I think that exact chart plays out after the tap on, maybe it doesn't even get to 80K. Maybe it stops out at 79. I think I think that's ultimately going to be the move though. One last push up and then it's like log out until next year basically. Like log off and go touch grass. Like I
Yeah,
and in my heart of hearts, again, like just in one of those things, heart of hearts, like that's truly what I feel. Um because it just makes sense. And then I remember coming out of the last bear market, right when I truly said like, "Oh fuck this, I'm leaving." Um, I'm just starting to now kind of like see some deja vu's forming. Except I'll remain an active participant this time rather than like, not sticking around.
gotcha. We could definitely have that push. Just we just need some bulls show up to make that push. This little grind we've had, the volume's been like decent starting like early March, but then it's just kind of gradually going down, which kind of leads me to believe that this little push is not really a good real push. It's more of like a fake out to grab all the retail trying to long, saying we're back, bull market's back on, and then trap us all the way back down towards 58, 60 area range, which is definitely possible. But we'll see over the weekend. With the low volume over the weekend, I'm kind of being a little bit more defensive and just waiting to see what the weekend will play. Like, but the golden pocket area that Umba and is it MTWHF, Maddie, they were both. That's a really good, nice area for a long, because it is kind of like the fair market value of Bitcoin in this range, so to speak. As you can see right here, it is from this dump down. This is pretty much like the middle point of Bitcoin, which wouldn't be a bad idea for maybe along with the stop loss, just like they stated, right down towards like 66 or 60, yeah, range. Otherwise, probably that golden pocket area is not going to hold. But definitely look into harmonics, man, because that was for anybody. I was I'm joining this education class on harmonics, and this guy is doing really good, and predicting a lot of market movements, and how the world works on harmonics and Elliott wave theory is kind of insane. It goes with the fib levels as well. Yeah, that's all I got for you guys. Any questions, concerns? I'll be chiming in over the weekend with these levels to see where the market's moving for potential, breakdowns or maybe another push up like we discussed.
Hell yeah, man.
Nico says,
Hell yeah.
Appreciate it, bro. Been a really great chat with you guys. Also, best regards from Maddie. Thank you so much for your attendance. Thank you so much for basically talking the whole time together in a group. I think this stream is really getting better and better and better because in my opinion, it already moved towards like friends and business partners having a nice chat once a week together. And I think that's amazing, and it's a big luxury that we have. Thank you so much.
see you guys later. Have a great weekend. What? Did you like that? Did you like that?